Review for God is a Bullet, directed by Nick Cassavetes, starring Nicola Coster-Waldau. I can't pronounce his name, but he was in Game of Thrones. He was the Kingslayer. So good actor. Somewhat an interesting movie, which I did enjoy. I think the movie's too long though, but because it's like over 2.5 hours. It's kind of meandering, but I did enjoy it. It's an interesting movie. There's some interesting shot, good cinematography. So it's directed by Nick Cassavetes. His dad is a famous director and actor, John Cassavetes. I just reviewed on this channel The Killing of a Chinese Bookie. That's his dad, the director. He's also an actor. He was in Rosemary's Baby. And he's been in other stuff too. I watched part of his movie, A Woman Under the Influence. I watched like half of it. I just wasn't interested, so I just turned it off. But apparently, Nick Cassavetes is in that movie as a little kid, or as a kid. So his dad is very famous. I'm really not giving him his due. He's directed a bunch of movies. He had a number of them had the guy in Columbo. And Ben Gazzara, opening night. I'd like to watch that because I like Ben Gazzara. But anyways, God is a Bullet. I really like that actor, Nikolai. I'm not sure how to say it. Is he Danish? Yeah, he's Danish. Okay. But really good actor. He was in a movie called Shot Caller, which I thought was really good. It's a really like tragic story, but very good actor. Hopefully, he keeps getting work like this because he does a good performance. And Maika Monroe gives a good performance too. So basically, the setup for this movie is he's a detective. It says, well, I'll just read it. Taking matters into his own hand, Detective Bob Hightower tries to infiltrate an evil cult to save his kidnapped daughter and avenge the murder of his wife. It's pretty much accurate. The thing is, he is kind of like a desk jockey for a cop. Like he doesn't really have much experience in the field, or maybe he did, but the past couple of years he hasn't really. And he is divorced. He has a daughter who um gets kidnapped by these crazy cult of Satanists. I mean that they are Satanists. They say so, and he's very religious Christian. Um, and these guys go to his ex-wife's house where his daughter lives and her new husband. They kill the husband, they kill the wife, and they kidnap the daughter. This sends him to track down leads to find his daughter. And along the way, he meets up with Maika Monroe, who's an ex-cult member. And she was trying to leave, and then the guy who runs the cult, Cyrus, who gives a pretty good performance, I think, too. Carl Glussman, um, he like really beats her up bad, and then he sends her on her way. They're all addicts, and they all have pretty messed up lives. So sends her on their way. She learns that his daughter was kidnapped. I'm trying to remember, and she meets up with him, saying, "Hey, I can help you do this, but you're gonna have to basically enter this underworld with me." And at first, he doesn't really want to do that. He's just like, "Look, just tell me where she is, and I'll go get her." She's like, "It's not that simple." So, and to enter this underworld, they all basically have these like crazy tattoos all over their bodies and their faces too. And so then that kind of starts the series of events in the movie. So Jamie Foxx is also in this movie called the Ferryman, and I guess that's fitting because he's a tattoo artist, and Cyrus and his gang and Maika used to party there. Kind, it seems like, he do tattoos on them. They party there, drink and everything. Um, and That's where Maika was trying to leave the gang. Cyrus is beating her up. Jamie Foxx pulled out a gun and shot it in the air. He's like, "All right, that's enough," because like he's gonna kill her. So then she leaves. He also is missing a hand, and he has like that skin condition where he has like blotches on his face and all over his body, but he has a bunch of tattoos on. So anyway, so they go there, and she's like, "You have to get tatted up, otherwise you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb in these places we go." He doesn't really want to do it, and he's like, "Okay, fine." So he does it. He gives him the tattoos. Um, and then she's like, "No, you need one on your face," and he's like, And then she's like, "Oh, come on, just a little one." So then he gets one on his face. Like here, it's like a spider. I think. I think she says, "All my lovers have one." And there is kind of like a romance brewing in this. So so he gets all the tattoos. He Jamie Foxx kind of says where to go, where to find them, and that leads him on the adventure in the movie. Now, I like the movie, and kind of the God is a bullet thing. She's like talking to him, saying like, "Oh, you have your religious views, and Cyrus has his, and she doesn't like either of them." And then she says that God is a bullet; he's the ultimate equalizer. So basically, a gun will end it all. And that's also kind of like a theme in this movie is like when they're about to kill someone, they say you're crossing over. So there's definitely this theme of death and destruction, and there are some very brutal deaths in this movie. Especially the last act has a lot of them. So I like the movie, but it is a little edge lord. Like the facial tattoos, the Satanism stuff. I don't know. It's just a little bit like I get it. You guys are edge lords. Like you love crazy hardcore music and getting tattoos all over your body and on your face even and upside down crosses and so I don't know. I mean, you could find that a little cringe, I guess. I think it was a little bit, but I think the movie does work though. Ethan Suplee is in this movie. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's a good actor. Right, he's an American History X. Mallrats, Blow, Cold Mountain. He's just been in tons of stuff. Chasing Amy. So Butterfly Effect. John Q. Man, he's in Clerks 3. So he's obviously friends with Kevin Smith. I mean, he almost looks like a Silent Bob. But maybe a Silent Bob that you wouldn't want to mess with, really. But he's in it. Good actor. Jonathan Tucker's in it. He gives a pretty good performance too, I thought. And he plays this guy named Errol, who in one scene, I mean, spoilers now, good movie. I liked it. It's too long. Some problems with it, but overall, I like it. So with spoilers now, there's this one crazy scene. I mean, totally crazy, where Cyrus, they're all doing drugs and they're drinking and they're in this room and they're pissed. And Cyrus is pissed at Jonathan Tucker because he suspects that he told, what's her name? Case, Mika Monroe. He told Case where she can find him, which is at this, they say like a ranger station. It's just like this little house in the middle of nowhere. Because they go to the house and they're looking for him, he's not there. Some guy tries to kill him. You don't even know who he is. She kills him. I think she slits his throat. And then shit, what's his God, Nikolai, whatever, Bob Hightower, just gonna call him Bob. He hates Cyrus because he stole his daughter, so he's like, let's send him a message. So he burns the place down, and they knew there was like a bunch of drugs in there worth like 100K. But he's like, we don't have time to find it, and he's like, I don't care, let's just burn it down. So he burns the place down. So Cyrus is all pissed about that. There's just one crazy scene where they're all partying in this room, and then Cyrus pretty much focuses in on Errol, and then they start beating the crap out of him. They start beating him up, and this is when, and actually this is when Mika goes back to Cyrus, and then he's like, well, you need to prove yourself if I'm gonna let you back in. And to do that, he gives her a gun, and he's like, just kill him. So she's gonna do that. She's pointing the gun at him. She's beating him up, and they're beating him up. And then she just puts the gun in her mouth, pulls the trigger, and there's no bullets in the gun. So, really crazy scene, but and then Cyrus and them leave. I think maybe then they beat up Maika, or Case, and then she meets up with Bob again, and then they kind of continue on their way. Because earlier before that, I forgot about this. Bob's trying to find Case, and Errol, this guy Jonathan Tucker, who I think is a really interesting actor, actually, comes out of nowhere, shoots him with a flare, which is like, oh man, shoots him like right here with a flare, pulls out a knife and just slashes his stomach, and then runs away. And then there's a pretty brutal scene of Bob in his motel, and he just gets some medical supplies, like a staple gun, and he's like pouring alcohol on the wound, and he's stapling it up. This movie's definitely rated R, I would think, yeah. So definitely pretty brutal scene, stapling it up. And then he also has like a hole in his shoulder from the flare gun. So But the movie's too long, and then then they kind of lose where Cyrus is, and they're trying to track him down again, and they get pointed in the direction that he's at, and he's like, okay, bring me my drugs and $100,000, or you bring me my drugs, and then they're like, well, we don't have them, and he's like, yeah, right, and he's like, we don't, we just burnt the house down. So he's all pissed, and he's like, well, then you need to go get the money, because he was going to sell it to Errol. He's like, Jonathan Tucker, and he's like, well, you need to go get the money from him then. So they go to the guy's house. He lives in this like huge mansion, this really nice house, like an indoor pool. I think it was indoor. And and they take out his bodyguards, and they take him out. Another very visceral scene. I think that's what this director is good at. Really intense, visceral action scenes. Not exactly the John Wick kind of thing, but good acting, good performances. And Errol's like freaking out. He's on like a bunch of drugs, and then Bob's beating him up, and then he pulls a gun out and just shoots him in the head when he's in his pool. So, and there's also this whole other side plot which I didn't find as interesting, but it involves Bob's boss, who's a sheriff, and they don't really like each other, and it involves Bob's ex-wife, who's now dead, father, and this whole thing of, in the past, they were linked up with Cyrus because they were going to buy a bunch of land from, I think, his mom. They don't ever say, but who they call the White Witch, I think, or the Witch, and they were going to give her a really good deal and everything, but she wouldn't sell. So then Cyrus, I'm pretty sure he kills his own mom. I mean, they don't ever say it's his mom, but then there's a scene that kind of, I think, kind of points to that. But anyways, there's this whole side plot about that, and then Bob's boss, who, anyways, he was tied up in the murder of Bob's ex-wife, and her new husband, and you almost get the feeling like that they paid Cyrus through say, oh, and you can kidnap this girl. And basically, I won't get into what they do to these girls, but I think you can kind of, imagine. So, basically, satanic rituals, uh, you know, nothing good. And and they've kidnapped a bunch of girls before. Some of them have died, some of them haven't. Case was kidnapped and basically brainwashed by them. Um, so yeah, and there's that whole side plot. I didn't find that as interesting, but it makes sense, I guess. Like, well, why did Cyrus target that house? Why did he kill them? Why did he target that little girl? And that's why. So, but yeah, and then they're gonna meet up with Cyrus. He's like, okay, I'll get you the money. You give me my daughter. He agrees. They do that. They get the money from Errol. They bring it to Cyrus, and they pay him. They get the daughter, and then Cyrus is like, okay, but I get Case. Bob won't agree to that. So, and Case was okay with that, but I mean, basically they would torture and then kill her. So they drive away, and then Case is like, well, they're going to come after us, right? And he's like, yeah. So, and then that leads to a final action scene in the middle of the desert, almost like a construction site. And it's pretty brutal scene. You know, even Bob's little daughter, he gives her like two guns, and he's like, if anyone, and she's like in this tunnel thing. He's like, if anyone pops their head in that isn't me or Case, blow their head off. And when you run out of bullets, use the other gun. So pretty good scene there with Ethan Suplee, because he's going after her, and she already killed someone, and she's like, shooting the gun. It's out of bullets, and he's like, "You're out of bullets," and then she pulls out another gun, blows him away. I mean, like a complaint that isn't all, like so many modern movies is. I mean, I get it with CGI and blood and squibs and stuff. Like, especially there's actually a number of shots in the face. Like they're shooting them right in the face, and you see it all. I understand that. I mean, it's hard to do a real squib on that. But there's a bunch of times where it's like in the body, and it's obviously fake CGI. It's just crazy how good CGI is getting, but it's almost always with CGI squibs. It just looks fake to me. I don't know. Most people don't seem to care about that kind of stuff. It just annoys me. Go watch Die Hard or go watch Commando. Those are real squibs. Like that's how it looks. That's how it should look, and it looks good. But you know, but some good action scenes, especially the last act, the end, really good. Um, even one guy has a flamethrower that he uses against Bob, but then Bob's able to get the upper hand against him. And they even have like a gun mounted on a truck, on the back of a truck. And Case is able to get to it, and then she slits the guy's throat. So, um, but yeah, I like the movie. And then in the end, Case basically tracks down Cyrus by herself. He's kind of just hiding out with one other guy, and she kills him. Um, she puts him in a chair. She has a shotgun, and she shoots him. He goes flying across the room. That was almost like an anime part of the movie. But he goes flying across the room, and she points the gun. She says, you're crossing over now." So, um, but yeah, it's a good movie. There's a lot of good performances. I think Nick Cassavetes is a good director, but like his dad liked to make long movies. I think his son does too, but that's okay. Like The Killing of a Chinese Bookie's too long, but I enjoyed it. So, but yeah, God is a Bullet, Nick Cassavetes movie. Check it out. I thought it was pretty solid. Has some flaws, but pretty solid movie. So, but that's about it though. Like, comment, subscribe if you've seen the movie. Let me know if you're a fan of it, and I'll see you next time.